You were relatively young when this rivalry was at its heyday. What, if any, recollection do you have of it?
I've read a lot about it since the last question I had. I don't really remember much of it. I remember all of the coaches. I remember some of the players. I remember there was an issue with coach and coach. I didn't know that there had been such wide gaps of decades of not playing. But a portion of that is probably just I'm not a local, and so I didn't understand the importance of it. But I didn't know that there had been so many years that there had not been a game.
So now you're part of it. In your mind as a basketball coach, what makes a great rivalry?
Well, I think sustainability in the rivalry, where it happens annually, where it's something that both programs know the importance of, those that are a part of the program understand. And then I think probably most importantly is just the support that comes from the rivalry, regardless of the two teams. And obviously that's a factor in this one, which I think is why there's so much attention to this game, because it's been decades of, in essence, inactivity.
Hey, Buzz. Entering the week, you talked about the importance of controlling possessions and limiting turnovers. How would you assess those two areas, both on Monday and then heading into tomorrow night as well?
We were better Monday against Coppin. I think against any Coach Cooley team, in order to have a chance to win the game, you have to win the fight. And part of the fight in how they compete defensively is not giving them the ball. When you look at, they've played this summer, obviously, in the World Cup, and then in their two exhibitions and in their game Monday night, they're going to win possession counts if you give them the ball, like any good team. But from a physicality standpoint, we haven't played a team that's thus far that's as physical as they are defensively.
And then Diggy Coit, super impactful off the bench on Monday. What do you see his role being and growing, if at all, throughout the season?
Well, it's such a small sample size, not just for Diggy, but for everybody. We've played one game, and it's too early for me to ascertain what anybody's going to be. But part of the environment we're trying to create from a development standpoint, from a learning standpoint, is figuring out what their roles can be. But one game, hey, this is what you are, I don't think that's enough evidence, whether that's Diggy or anybody else. But we do want to use all the data and all the evidence to create what they can become.
Coach, is so early in the season, and Ed's offenses are so action-oriented. Just as a coaching staff, being new here, what does that prep looks like? Because you only have one game film. I know you do have stuff from Global Jam and stuff, but you really only have one game set of film, or are you just worried about your principles?
I would say that's a great question. Coach Cooley has always been known as an offensive savant. When he was at Providence, his play catalog, I would say, was the most of any team in the Big East when I was employed in the Big East. I have obviously watched all of the games that you're talking about, and it's my nature to want to maybe over-explain too much to our guys. But in week one, with 15 new players, I think the vote is it needs to be about us and the things that foundationally we know we want to be about. And so we're trying to bleed in some components of their personnel. We're trying to bleed in some of their core actions, not necessarily their plays, but some of the things that are interwoven in each of their plays, so that foundationally we can grow from that, not just for the importance of Friday's game, but I think we play 7 games in the next 19 days. And so we're hoping that if we can keep the focus on us using the opponent to grow our foundation, that when we get to game 6 or game 8 or game 28, there's remnants that we built it from a sustainable standpoint. But I do think that the emotion of the first home game, the emotion of the rivalry, all of those things outside of our program are very important, and they have importance within our program. But to your point, we can't give away our entire practice itinerary based on Coach Cooley's offensive prowess. But we can give attention to, they run a lot of this, they run a lot of this, they run a lot of this, and we're going to see A, B, and C in November, December, January, February, March.
And both teams are extremely physical. I know you've coached physical teams. Ed certainly has. How important are free throw attempts, where you are when you get into the bonus and rebounding?
I think that's the key to winning, no matter the name of the team and no matter the name of the opponent. They shot 39 free throws on Monday night. I believe they shot 25 free throws in Lexington. I think they shot 19 free throws versus George Washington. Number 2, number 5, number 25 get fouled at an ultra high rate. Number 5 was top 5% in the country last year in getting fouled. He is elite downhill and arguably the most physical 6'4" guard in the country that we'll face this month. But his game is somewhat predicated on downhill, which is where he gets fouled. I think 25 gets fouled at a very high rate. Number 2 has a little bit of anything he wants, all 3 levels, but a part of his points per possession is for sure his free throw attempt rate. I think the one thing that we have to pay attention to is number 3 gets fouled. I anticipate he will be one of the leading forwards in regards to free throws in the Big East this year. I know he played in the Big East last year, but not trying to distinguish between Coach Pitino or Coach Cooley. A lot of what I'm seeing they're doing with number 3 leads to him getting fouled. He was 8 of 9 at Kentucky, I believe. And so can we defend without fouling will be a big part of can we win a game. Not Georgetown, any game. We fouled more times on Monday night than Coppin fouled us. That's not a good start. I know that's a subliminal stat, but we're going to have to defend without fouling because a lot of our fouls, we can't guard the ball, and so we just foul, and it leads to free points for the opponent. So that is one of the things that will be a part of what I talk about today and show. And so it applies to Georgetown, but it applies forward. We're not near as physical as we're going to have to be. Our nature is to watch the ball. Our nature is, I think you're going to do it instead of I need to do it. And so we've got to continue to make progress. We have some physical players. We don't have enough physicality when the ball is in the air. All 3 of our contests thus far, we have lost the physicality part. Coppin State was more physical than us. They rebounded 25% of their misses. That's not a good stat. And so with the physicality on Friday, which will be more than I anticipate we've had thus far, our physicality is going to have to continue to improve. But some of that is gaining traction. I do think our guys are understanding what we're asking of them. Our execution of that physicality is not as consistent as we're going to need it to be, but we have made some traction. We were better Monday night in that regard than we were the previous Monday night. And so we need to be markedly better on Friday than we were Monday in that regard.
Coach, I talked to a bunch of students on campus today, and I asked them, because there's so many new faces on this team, what do you know about this Maryland basketball team? And they said, honestly, not much. So what is your message to these students and fans who may not know much about you and your team, and what do you want the identity of your team to be for these fans on campus?
Yeah, we want as many students here as possible, whether they know us or not. We'll be happy to meet them. The best place to meet for us relative to our schedule is at the Xfinity Center. We're really excited for our first home game. John has mentioned they expect a great crowd, particularly with students. I hope that the identity would be that we play with some level of physicality, that we play for one another, that we play with a low turnover rate, that we care about the possession, whether we have the ball or don't have the ball, that we give more daps and hugs than anybody in the country, that our huddles are tighter, that when the ball's on the floor, in the air, or on the ground, we're the first to get it, and that we're easy to cheer for. We don't have a lot of emotional outbursts making it about ourselves. We have a lot of emotion towards winning and winning that possession. So all of the things that any coach would say in regards to what impacts winning. In this era of college athletics, whether it's a basketball team or a football team, there's probably going to be a lot of students on any campus that's like, I don't even know who's on the team. And transparently, all of us will be playing in our first game, right? So when the students come to their first game tomorrow, it'll be my first game too. It'll be Diggy's first game. It'll be everybody's first game as it relates to our program. And so as we start on this path together, we're grateful for all of the support.
Hey, Buzz. I know Maryland and Georgetown historically.
I got an idea. Do you think I can learn these guys' names and who they write for? All right. TV. All right. And I met you at Media Day. All right. And the first guy with the green hoodie. All right. And I've seen you before because I asked about your computer sticker, and somebody else had the same sticker going a different direction. See, his is up and down, and yours is the other way.
Yeah,
That's a student paper?
Yeah, but
Student paper?
We're both with Inside Maryland Sports.
That's not a paper?
Not a student paper.
graduated from the student paper.
Internet? All right.
I work for the student paper, but not for.
All right. What about you, ma'am? You going to ask a question? Yes, I am. All right. Nice. You guys all got the DBK. Radio. How many newspapers on campus? Are you serious? Says the journalism school here important? Are you a graduate? Did you work for the same radio station he's talking about?
WWC. I called Len Bias's last year and next year.
Wow, that's pretty cool. All right, go ahead.
I know Maryland and Georgetown historically have recruited the DMV heavily, have a lot of DMV products on the roster. I know this year you were forced to build that roster unusually quickly, but long term, what's your philosophy on local recruiting, and is that something that you think will be important in your time at Maryland?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the era of college athletics has changed in relation to recruiting. Whether you get the job late, whether you get the job early, there's a lot more factors than there were maybe historically speaking. But I do think one of the reasons why both programs have been so successful is this area of the country is heavily populated with really good coaches and really good players. And so without giving all of the answers, we always want to recruit inside out. And our staff is working really hard to establish relationships, not just for the current recruiting class, but long term. A lot of the coaches in this area have been here throughout their entire career. And so as much as we want to recruit the players and establish relationships with their families, in year one, as we're getting started, we want to make sure that we put down roots of solid, trustful relationships with all of the coaches as well. So that's important.
And then I think at Texas A&M, just over 40% of the players you ever had there were from the state of Texas. Was that as well like a concerted effort to build sustainability there, or more a result of just the staff having a lot of ties to the state of Texas?
Yeah, I think you would have to think through. I think we signed the Wisconsin Player of the Year 5 times during our time in Wisconsin. We signed either the Virginia or Maryland Player of the Year 4 times while we were at Virginia Tech, and then recruited the state. I think it's part of any establishing a home base of any job. Can you recruit your state? Can you recruit your area? Can you establish relationships, whether it's through recruiting efforts, through the people that are involved in grassroots, the people that are involved in high school coaching? There's just so many variables. And so whether it's Maryland, whether it's Georgetown, I think they have 5 players that you would say are from the DMV. And so we did study and make 72,000 calls on local players that were in the portal. It's just so fast, no matter where you're from. But when you arrive April the 2nd, I think my first staff member was hired 11 days later after he cleared background checks. When you get to tax day and you're making your first of 72,000 calls and you have 0 players on the team, where they're from is important, and it will always be important. But who they are is always going to supersede where they're from. And so I think we did the best we could relative to the timing, and it took, 2 months to figure out who those 15 players were going to be. And we've made a concerted effort since May, I think, was the first time we could go out and see players in an event. April the 9th, I was the only person here. I went to 8 high schools that day by myself. So I think we've been accountable. That does not always mean that it's going to translate to the result. But relative to the process, I think we've tried to be consistent 225 days into the job of developing relationships with grassroots and high school coaches, not just for 26. I don't want my relationship with you or anybody else to just be based on one person. I want it to be based on, I want to have a trustful relationship, whether something ever comes from it or not. And I think our staff's done good with that. Oh, yeah, let me hear Diggy. We do radio 3 days before the game at Maryland. Pre-game. But we act like it's right before. See you guys. Do great, Diggy.
Hey, Diggy. I wanted to ask you about Coach Rock. I've heard a lot of interesting stories about him. Was wondering if you had any that you want to share. Could be first impression or just any fun stories that you have.
Well, Coach Rock recruited me. I committed here to the program to Texas A&M before I went to Kansas. I never had a conversation with Coach Buzz or any other coaches, and I committed because of Coach Rock. So any impression that I had of him would be high-level person, very funny, old school, and I would say that very trustworthy. So he's the reason I'm here, sure.
Why do you say that he's the reason you're here? What specifically about him made your relationship so close?
I mean, I committed to a program without talking to the head coach because of him. So that's the first reason. I would say just he speaks truth, and that's a part of the program. That's an emphasis in our program. And I would say that he does a great job speaking truth and telling the truth and holding himself accountable to that. He never told me a lie. He told me what it was going to be when I got here. He told me that Buzz was crazy. He told me everything he told me about Buzz ended up being true. Everything he said about the program ended up being true. So I would say that me committing was, I think, solidified how I already felt about him during the whole recruitment process because he's been recruiting me for over a year. So, yeah.
So I know you were too young for this rivalry. If Buzz was on that same scope, what have you heard, if anything, about Maryland, Georgetown?
I heard the games used to get crazy, and I heard that it was fun. It was always loud in the gyms, and that it just means a lot to the community to get this type of win. Even this game coming back, I know that it was been some years since the rivalry has, the games have been going on. So I would say that that was the biggest thing when the game was scheduled and we heard we was playing Georgetown. When I was coming here, I was just like, oh, okay. And then every time I would see a fan or any parent or any person around the campus, they always talked about this game, this game, this game. That's when I realized, like, oh, maybe it's something going on here. And obviously, just, doing your homework and trying to understand more about, obviously, the Maryland culture, College Park. This is something that comes up for a good amount. So.
And as Coach mentioned, this is the first time in this building for real.
Yeah.
And that wall of students. What do you expect, and how does that? I mean, you play in big arenas.
Yeah.
How does that affect the player?
I mean, I think for me, I understand this is my last year. I played in a lot of big arenas, small arenas, JUCO, mid-major. I've been across the country. I would say that it just makes you feel blessed and appreciative of the opportunity that you have. Obviously, being a JUCO guy, not knowing that I'll ever be at this point in my life, when you see the fans and you feel that energy, you just realize how much more it was than I ever thought it was going to be and how much more fun it is. So it's a lot of emotions that go into it, especially for me, just because of my journey and getting to this point. So seeing the fans is definitely going to feel great, but I'm going to feel really blessed and grateful.
I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Coach, but for those Maryland students and fans who might not know who you guys are and how you guys play, what your identity is,
Yeah.
what is your message to them? What do you want students and fans to know about you guys and how you guys are as a team?
I would say that we're still shaping our identity, obviously, because we are a brand new team. The coaching staff has been together, but not with this team. 15 new players, everybody is trying to figure out their role and what our identity is. But I would say for who we want to be as a team, we try to be that way off the court too. So good men, great people, selfless, high energy, high character guys. So I would say that's what's going to bleed onto the court. But for our identity, we're still trying to shape that. And we need the fans to help us shape our identity as well. Yes, sir. Very fun to watch. It's going to be a time.
Hey, Diggy. Against Coppin State, you kind of served as like spark plug off the bench, even though you played heavy minutes. Do you kind of take pride in serving in the like instant offense role?
Yeah. I was out for a couple weeks with an ankle injury, so knowing that I was going to come off the bench, I didn't know how much I was going to play. I didn't know how Coach Bell was going to play me, but I know that my role is important to this team, so whether that's starting to come off the bench, I want to be a great leader, great teammate, playmaker, scorer. I want to do it. My God-given abilities. I want to showcase what I can do on the court at all times. So whether that's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, I don't care. I just gotta, that energy, like you said, is who I am. So I gotta be that regardless of the situation or the role.
Thank you.
Sure.
I gotta get you Biggie in the weights. So
All right. Thank you.
don't leave if I didn't give you a credential.
Appreciate it.